Hello and welcome to the first episode of PFT Talk. You of course don't know what the show is because we've never done it before, but this is going to be a hopefully weekly live stream where we speak about things that have been going on this week in the world of technology and covering some of the things we have posted on the site. Now, I said somewhat weekly because there are, of course, going to be some weeks where we don't manage this. This will be streamed live to Twitch and later uploaded on our YouTube channel. It's most likely that you are watching this on the YouTube channel, so if you are, there will be a link in the description to our Twitch, so please go give us a follow over there. That would be really appreciated. This is going to be done by me and Patryk, who you can see over there. So Patryk writes on the website. Introduce yourself if you want.
Hello.
Okay, that's all the introduction you need. So today we have a bunch of topics. This is going to be around about a half-hour show where we basically kind of ramble on. So we have news from Intel, Leap Motion, Apple, Nintendo and more. But Intel is what we're going to be starting off with. So you may have seen on the website we posted an article basically stating that Intel have announced that they have basically invented this new kind of technology that will allow for much higher capacity SSD storage. So at the moment SSDs only go up to about 1 terabyte, which is I suppose okay for most people, but if you for example have a lot of videos and photos like I do, then you may want more storage like that, and these can actually go up to 10 terabytes while maintaining the same speed. So this is going to be useful for things like MacBooks, Mac Pros that don't have much space and can only hold a single drive. But this is some really interesting technology. So, Patrick, what do you think about that?
Well, for me, I kind of see this going further past kind of your standard PCs and your laptops. I think that it's going to this technology is going to get used for your SD cards, and eventually it'll make its way towards phones, because we've already seen examples of like 128 gigabyte iPhone and stuff, and with the increasing image sensors, so we've seen the progression going from about 5 megapixels to where we are now, which is roughly about 16 to 20 megapixels. We're going to need more storage. So obviously I would expect to see this technology make its way into the smartphone sector, but also into SD cards, because your DSLRs, they're going to have like a 60 megapixel sensor soon enough. So this technology isn't really limited to laptops. I mean, it is for the time being, but I'd say give it maybe a year or two and then you will see a massive jump in the kind of capacity of SD cards. Now, another topic that we're going to cover today is the fact that the HTC Mi9 and the Samsung Galaxy S6 and S6 Edge have finally been put up for pre-order. Yeah. Now, you may have caught one of our articles earlier in the week about this very topic, but the kind of surprising things that we've seen emerge recently is the fact that the Galaxy S6 Edge is going to be $100 more than the bog standard S6. Now, for me, this is kind of a peculiar thing, because I don't think that about 5 or 10 millimeters worth of screen is going to be worth $100. Now, I've seen people review the device and, well, I mean, they've fallen in love with it, but not enough to spend $100 extra on top of a $650 rated phone.
Yeah.
So it's really going to be interesting. Anyway, Quinn, what do you think about this?
I think, well, the thing about the Edge is this is not Samsung's main flagship phone. It's kind of almost an experiment. So, for example, the Samsung Galaxy Round, which we saw a while ago, which was only launched in Asia, went for thousands of dollars, and that's because it was a more limited run phone. It wasn't meant to be the main model. It was a kind of novelty thing that some people are interested in. So I can see you wouldn't really think that the price tag is worth it. It's obviously going to cost a fair amount more to manufacture, to curve that screen. Is it worth it? Probably not, to be honest. From the videos I've seen, it does look more immersive. You do notice the screen being wrapped around the edge. But to be honest, I think it's just a novelty that you'll get over after about a week. And if I was to go for one, I'd choose the S6. The Edge is definitely a cool phone, and I would definitely like to see smartphone manufacturers carry on with the curved screen design, things like that. But this is kind of a first gen model. The curved screens haven't really fully caught on, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's worth that extra $100. But I suppose it's personal opinion.
I guess so in the end. I mean, you're going to be the person who's going to be splashing out, what, $750 on a phone?
It'll be interesting to see the sales, because the M9 and the S6 are pretty much going to be the top two Android phones out there. Personally, I'm usually an HTC kind of guy, but the M9 was a bit of a disappointing upgrade. I wouldn't upgrade from the M8. I don't think it's worth it. There are very few changes. The S6 is impressive from Samsung as usual, but it of course has its annoyances like TouchWiz and all the bloatware and things like that.
In fairness, right, I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say that the S6 has made a massive leap from the S5 in terms of removing bloatware, and
it's a lot better, but it's still not quite there.
Yeah, it's better, but as you say, it's still not quite there. And for the time being, I'm going to stick with the Mi9 because, well, the build quality is superior, and I think, I don't know, I think boom sound is certainly something that I see as a premium feature over the S6.
I think boom sound and the design are great, but really apart from that, I don't think there's anything else from it, and you can get that in the M8 pretty much. If they were to release Google Play versions of both, I think I would choose the S6 personally.
Ooh, yeah.
It's just the camera in the M9 was a huge letdown to me. They focused on it in the event. It's got a new sensor and everything, but it's really disappointing.
I don't know.
The S6's camera though does look really good.
It looks good, but I don't know if I could live with a Galaxy phone, to be honest. I haven't used one properly as my daily driver. I have messed about with them numerous times, and I think the thing would drive me crazy within 2 weeks.
Another interesting thing is they both now are completely closed phones. You can't change the battery and remove the back, which was an advantage of Samsung's in the past. You could change the battery, but yeah, I don't know, it's an interesting move. I don't know how I feel about the glass on the back.
In fairness, the one thing that the Edge does have over the S6, I think it's comes with a micro SD slot. So I think for many people that might actually be a selling point. Still, maybe not worth the $100 premium, but I think it will be a key selling point.
Yeah. Now, kind of keeping on the trend of phones, there have been rumours that at the next iPhone announcement, most likely WWDC, we will see 3 new iPhones. So we'll have the 6S, the 6 Plus S, and a smaller 6C. Now, we saw this kind of trend with the 5S and the 5C, where you saw the C was basically exactly the same as the 5, but it had a plastic housing and was a lot cheaper. So if Apple were to follow this trend, we would have a phone very similar spec-wise to the iPhone 6, but with that coloured plastic housing, which, well, the 5C was definitely a very popular device. I personally didn't like it too much. I prefer the metal design myself. But it'll be an interesting move from Apple, and if rumours are true, this will actually be smaller, but I don't think, I'm not really sure about that.
Let me stop you right there. It won't just be a good move, it will be a sensational move.
Yeah.
Right? Here's where I'm coming from on this, right? I'm not really interested in the Plus, or to be honest, even the standard model, because they're huge. You've got a 4.7 inch screen and you've got a 5.5 inch screen. Massive phones. Now, I've always been banging on about the fact that I like the iPhone when it was a small device, 3.5 inch. I think that was a perfect form factor. Now, I've kind of deviated from that a little, up to about the 4 inch kind of form factor, the one that the 5S and the 5C have had. Now, when my phone's going to be due an upgrade in January, and I am hoping to God above that this will be true, and that the Apple will release a 4-inch iPhone 6C, iPhone 6 Plus, or whatever. The fact of the matter is, a 4-inch iPhone with latest generation software and all the gadgetry would be, for me, the best device out there for the next year or so.
Yeah.
So much so that I would actually be willing to spend my own money on it. Now, for me, I have been kind of looking for a smaller phone for ages and ages, and there hasn't been anything on the market like that. You know, the closest thing that I've seen was about the Z3 Compact, and this would be a game changer going backwards, and it would be really interesting to see how the market would react, how Apple and HTC would follow suit.
I would love to see this. I just don't think. Well, I don't think it's going to happen, to be honest. I feel like the 6C would be exactly the same as the 6, size-wise. It would be understandable for Apple to do it, and I would love to see that. But yeah, I don't know if they would. But if they do, I think this will be much more popular than the 6S and the 6S Plus, because really budget phones are where companies make a lot of their money. If you think about it, there's a lot more people in the world that are looking for the cheaper smartphone rather than the one with the 8-core crazy processor or whatever. So it would definitely be a good move from Apple from their perspective. I think they would make a lot of money from it. Whether they'll do it or not, I don't know.
I don't know. The thing for me, the key selling point here would be to make sure that the 4-inch, the 4.7-inch, and the 5.5-inch versions all have the same specifications inside.
Yeah.
So you're going to have the same processor, the same amount of memory, the same camera. Everything should be exactly the same apart from your battery size and things like that. That would change with the physical properties.
Another thing we may see from Apple is a rose gold iPhone, and in my opinion, this isn't a good thing. We've basically seen some renders about this, and it seems that Apple are wanting to target the fashion world more than the technology world. We've already seen they've featured in tons of fashion magazines with the Apple Watch, and for me, I see the Apple Watch as a smartwatch rather than a fashion item.
I think that's kind of
I think they're kind of going at the wrong crowd here, to be honest.
It depends, because if you think about it, what they're really trying to do with the iPhone and the Apple Watch and even your MacBook is they're trying to make it become a fashion accessory, kind of a method of conveying your style and expressing yourself. And I think it's okay as long as they still maintain certain versions and certain specifications for people such as you and me and whoever might be watching this who just enjoy the technology, you know?
The main thing I don't get is, for example, the Apple Watch Edition, which has that crazy £10,000 price tag. I could understand it if it was a regular watch, because with that watch you spend the $10,000 and you can use it for 10 years, but you know in 10 years smartwatches will have advanced so much that it's going to look like a cheap toy. The software and the hardware is going to be so far behind.
The problem for me with that is the fact that the battery is probably going to be shot within years. If you look at a standard cycle for smartphones, you get your 24-month contract, and by the end of it, you're really wanting a new phone because your phone is struggling to survive a single day on a charge. Now, if that happens to my watch, I'm going to throw it in the bin or replace the battery. And I'm not entirely sure if you can replace the battery in an Apple Watch. And the other thing is, you're going to be looking at software updates. And Apple has a history of not supporting their devices for too long. Now, there have been a few devices that have broken the mold. You've had your iPad Air 2 and certain devices such as that. But what worries me is that if you end up spending £13,000 on a watch, it might be obsolete within 2 or 3 years, and that would be something that would really, really piss off whoever would be crazy enough to spend that kind of money on a watch, and especially a watch that does fairly little for that price tag.
Now, another kind of big thing in the mobile scene almost is that Nintendo are finally going to start producing video games for smartphones. Now, sadly, this is not what I expected when I first read the title. They're not going to be doing any games that they've done before, so you're not going to see Super Mario, you're not going to see Mario Kart, but you will see the characters like Mario, Luigi, so on, appearing in games that they produce, and with Nintendo's past history, these games should be pretty fun to play, and I would expect that this is an extremely good move from Nintendo. It may lead to them losing a lot of sales on their own consoles, but I don't see any big name titles coming across. These games should be fun to play and make them a lot of money, I would expect. I don't know, what are your thoughts on this?
I think Nintendo have been really pressed to the wall with profits, plainly because the Wii U is an absolute load of garbage and nobody's actually buying it in the Western world. If you're gonna spend $400 $500 on a games console, you're gonna buy a PS4 or an Xbox One or one of the previous versions. Realistically, the Wii U doesn't have anything to offer that I would take over, an Xbox One or a PS4. So, in terms of that, they're going to be really pushed for profits. So they had to finally give in and start making mobile games. But the thing for me is that, are the new games going to be good? Because I'm not entirely sold on their kind of conceptual idea. For me, it would have been a smart move to take certain classic titles, such as Super Mario Brothers, Mario Kart, things like that, give them a makeover for the mobile device, and obviously just use hardware acceleration to make it, the best experience possible on the phone, rather than trying to write whole new titles specific for the mobile kind of experience. We've seen a lot of successful franchises such as Call of Duty Zombies, and Batman Arkham, and a certain series such as that make the transition and just adapting the older titles and putting them on the mobile device, and they've been successful, and they've been releasing new versions every year. FIFA, EA, what they did with FIFA, they essentially took like a FIFA 07 or FIFA 08, they took that engine and all the graphics and everything, just readjusted it a little, and then just put it out as a whole new game called FIFA 15 or FIFA 14, and they've made a ton of money from it. And I think that's what Nintendo should do, rather than go ahead and write a whole new Mario game that might be a really dead weight in the water.
I would love to see that, but there's no way Nintendo are going to transfer their old games, simply because of the fact they're not going to want to do anything that means they lose console sales. So for example, if they make all their games available on iPhone, there's now no reason you would ever want to buy a Wii. And people kind of slag off Well, I know what you're going to say, but Unbox Therapy posted a video today, I believe, on his More Top 5 channel, speaking about the top 5 biggest selling video games ever, and something like 4 video games out of the 5 were Nintendo games, with one of those being the Wii U version of Mario Kart. So it may not seem like Nintendo are that big, but if you compare some of the sales they're getting to franchises like FIFA and Call of Duty,
the problem
it's more impressive than you think. Small interruption there. Anyway, carry on.
Oh Christ, our Lord. What was I going to say? Yeah. If you think about what if you think about all the titles available on on Wii, there isn't that many titles that would persuade you to do it. Now, the reason why Mario Kart has been so successful, so successful, is because it's an umpteenth version of the same game. It's been updated a little, and people know exactly what to expect, and it's really, really fun. Now, if you look at the games catalog for Wii, there isn't that many games that you can look at and say, "Oh, well, that's going to be really, really fun." Especially with the kind of big hitting names that we've come to love on the other consoles. They haven't really made the transition to Wii, and they've kind of left it behind. So Nintendo are really going to have to look to other sources to bring good games to Wii, or alternatively, focus fully on making games for the mobile industry.
I mean, I know you can say Wii U sales and things like that are bad, but Nintendo are going to stick to their principles. They're going to do what they want to do. They are surprisingly profitable considering the sales.
I think you can call Nintendo the BlackBerry of the gaming world.
I don't think you can compare Nintendo, like the Wii U, to the Xbox One and the PS4 because they're going in different things. It's going for the fun, casual approach to games rather than the competitive.
I think that approach is really being shot down by the likes of your Android gaming devices, such as the Razer console, the Amazon Fire TV, your Nexus player, those kind of things, because they're offering roughly the same kind of experience for a lot less with a much larger selection of games.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose another thing you have to kind of consider is that we don't see Nintendo's full impact here in the UK and even in the US. They are huge in Japan and China, where they come from, and things like the DS are still extremely popular devices. But it's going to be interesting to see what they can do.
Surprisingly, get a new version every year in Japan or something.
Yeah.
With some new additions, some of which I'd like to actually see, because of I think it was just today that I saw a DS which had an extra tiny little button that worked like one of those red dots on your old IBM ThinkPad computers, which kind of works like another thumbstick. So I don't know. I think it would really benefit Nintendo if they got some Western designers rather than sticking to their old principles that have made them big, because I think at some point each company needs to go through a change. We saw this with Apple, we saw this with Sony, we saw this with most PC manufacturers. So I think it's time for Nintendo to.
I feel like they're very stubborn. They don't really want to listen to what may be best.
I hope they look at what happened to Nokia.
Yeah.
Because I don't want Nintendo to go the way Nokia has gone.
Now, on the kind of other side of gaming, the more high-tech, real side of gaming, we of course have VR, which over the past year has grown hugely. Now, from what I've seen with VR, it looks brilliant, but you lose the feeling of immersion when you look down and see that you are not in that world. So, for example, when we look down, we can see our hands and feet moving. But in VR, when you look down, you just see the ground, and that kind of reminds you that you're not in that world. Now, Leap have been teaming up with Razer on their open source VR headset to kind of develop a body hand tracking technology so that your hands and feet will be in the game, meaning that when you look down, you will see a body. So this may not seem big, but it will make your experience so much more real and should allow for game developers to do a lot more with their games. Now, it'll be interesting to see what people can do with this, because obviously most virtual reality headsets you have to be plugged into a computer, and you don't really have unlimited space, so you're not going to be running around in forests and things like that. But it's going to be interesting to see, as I said, what games you can do controlling with your hands wearing a virtual reality headset.
I think it especially having Leap on board is a massive credit to the devs because, as we've seen before, the Leap products have really revolutionized kind of eye tracking and hand
Yeah.
tracking.
We have actually seen Leap motions attached to VR headsets in the past, but that was a kind of ghetto rigged thing that had been done by developers. This is actually going to be something made by Leap themselves, which
Yeah, I
should
think
be good.
having Leap fully on board rather than seeing like you know, a prototype thrown together in about 10-15 minutes is really going to change the world, well, change the way we see VR and change the way that we control it.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that does worry me is the implementation of it, because it'll be really, really weird to play a game and then just having to, mess about with your hands, because you're kind of coming back to that old problem that Kinect has had, just waving about your arms in midair and, looking really, really silly to yourself.
Another thing though, this might kind of encourage VR to go past gaming. So we saw it with HoloLens, where it's augmented reality. This could, for example, you could have your computer screen projected out in front of you and control that with your hands. This could have applications beyond gaming, but yeah, I suppose it's down to the developers to really.
I think that's where we're really heading. I think
Yeah.
Microsoft's HoloLens was really kind of a futuristic idea of where we want to be. It's like a quantum leap for VR in a sense.
It makes the Iron Man kind of computer setup actually possible.
Yeah, I think that's where we're really heading, and I think the way we've been thinking about VR has kind of been two-dimensional in the sense that we really see it kind of going into gaming, and we didn't really see much past it. Now, what the HoloLens has done is it kind of opened us up to an idea of the fact that we could be walking about with a whole new perspective in front of our eyes. And I think that's what Google Glass really wanted to achieve, but it didn't really manage it because it had a tiny display and it was insanely expensive, and people couldn't actually do much with it. But I think VR is really, really taking a step in the right direction, especially with something like this.
Yeah.
Now, if more and more headsets and devices will be available with it, I think we will see a gradual shift towards augmented reality rather than just watching films in VR or playing games in VR.
It may sound weird, but I think one of the biggest steps that VR can take is if it looks normal, because at the moment it's a cool kind of thing, but you're not going to want to walk around your house with the huge box in front of your head.
Yeah.
If it can look a bit more sleek and less noticeable, possibly.
I think that's the main issue for Glass.
Yeah.
That's the main issue that I saw with Glass, and it's the main issue that I see with Microsoft HoloLens, is the fact that it's odd. Like, really, if you saw somebody walking about with it in a street, you're going to think to yourself, what a tosser, right? Now, I have seen in past CES shows that there have been like little things that attach to the bottom of your glasses and project stuff onto your lenses, which is all fair enough. It looks good and it kind of works, but the main problem is it's going to cause eye damage to your eyes. So obviously there's plenty of health concerns surrounding VR, but hopefully with time I'd love to see a solution that works and doesn't actually make you go blind.
Yeah. Another interesting article I saw was that people have been getting motion sickness from, doing the roller coaster games and things like that. And something developers are testing is putting the outline of your nose in the image, because of course that's what your brain is used to seeing, and it kind of tricks you even more into thinking it's real life by showing you what your brain would expect to see, almost. I don't know if that makes sense.
I don't get motion sickness, so I don't know. I really can't speak on the subject. I think it'll be, nice to be even more immersed in the game, but or whatever you're watching. But I don't know. It's really for the experts to decide, and people
Yeah.
like us, most of us who don't actually get sick on roller coasters and everything, probably won't notice the difference.
You don't know if you get sick on VR roller coasters though.
I'd certainly want to see if I do.
But yeah, that is all we are going to cover today. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, give this a like, share, and subscribe. Also, comment below if you've got any questions or just want to leave some feedback. And of course, please give us that follow on Twitch. That would be much appreciated, as we would really like to grow this thing. And your feedback would we would definitely take that nicely.
Also,
So,
check out my.
yep.
So, time for some self promotion. Head over to my channel, the Podrig. It should be somewhere about here. I don't know if you're watching this on YouTube. It'll be here, or if this is inverted, here somewhere. For some Madden videos and for some snapshots, which have been covering the news as they've been coming along. Now, one bit of information is that I'm going to put up the last snapshot on my channel tonight, and from now on, all the snapshots are going to be going up on PFT.
Yeah.
So stay tuned to have a look at those.
So I guess that's it. As I said, feedback would be much appreciated. I really hope you enjoyed this, but for now, that's it, and goodbye.